The night was heavy with smoke. The sky above the alien camp was dark, filled with red sparks rising like angry stars. In the center of the village, a great pit of fire burned bright. The flames danced high, spitting embers into the air, and around it stood dozens of alien warriors. Their skin was scaled, their eyes glowed yellow in the dark, and their sharp teeth showed as they laughed. Above the fire pit, a small figure hung bound by chains. A girl. Her alien skin shimmered pale blue in the heat, her eyes wide with terror. She was trembling, her tiny body weak from hunger and fear. Every time the flames hissed, she pulled away, but the chains held her tight. The villagers shouted louder, beating drums, calling her their feast. She was seconds away from becoming nothing more than smoke and ashes. The leader of the tribe, a tall brute with black horns, raised his clawed hand. "Tonight," he roared, "we eat the weak. We show the galaxy our strength." His voice shook the night air, and the crowd screamed with him. The girl shut her eyes tight, tears sliding down her cheeks. She whispered softly, as if anyone could hear her. "Help me. Someone please help me." The fire cracked, growing higher, licking at her feet. Suddenly the laughter changed. From the shadows, footsteps echoed on the hard dirt. Slow, steady, not afraid. The crowd turned, confused. Out of the smoke walked a man. Not an alien. Not one of them. A human. He was tall compared to the girl, though his body was lean, dressed in rough clothes covered in dust. His face was shadowed, but his eyes burned clear and sharp in the firelight. He didn't look frightened. He didn't look weak. He simply looked forward, straight at the girl above the flames. The crowd fell silent for a moment. Then laughter erupted again, cruel and mocking. "A human? Here?" one shouted. "Does he come to feed himself to the fire?" another jeered. The human kept walking, step after step, until he stood at the edge of the pit. The heat hit him, hard, but he didn't move back. His voice cut through the smoke like steel. "Let her go." The crowd roared with laughter, clutching their sides. Even the horned leader grinned wide. "You dare? You stand before warriors, human. What are you but meat for our knives?" But the human didn't flinch. His jaw tightened. His eyes didn't. "Leave the girl." She stared down at him, her chest heaving with panic. For the first time, there was a spark of something new in her gaze. Hope. The leader raised his hand again. "Kill him." Several warriors moved forward, brandishing long spears tipped with jagged stone. The firelight reflected in their eyes. They expected the human to run, to beg, to scream, but he didn't move. He didn't even blink. The girl cried out above the flames, "Please, don't." But her voice was swallowed by the chanting of the crowd. The warriors closed in. The girl's heart hammered so hard she thought it would burst. This stranger, this human, he was the first living soul who had dared to speak for her, and now he would die. The fire hissed, the chains rattled, the crowd screamed louder. The human slowly raised his hand, and for the first time his voice grew sharp, cutting through the madness. "You think strength is fire. You think strength is chains. I'll show you strength tonight." The girl's eyes widened, her breath caught in her throat. The crowd leaned closer, waiting for blood. The fire burned hotter, the smoke thicker. The girl felt the flames almost touch her feet, and the human finally moved. The human stood at the edge of the fire pit, heat biting at his skin, yet he did not move back. His eyes locked on the girl above the flames, chains glowing hot from the fire. The crowd screamed and laughed, calling him a fool, but he remained steady like stone. The horned leader pointed his claw toward him. "This human wants death? Then give him death." 4 warriors moved in. Their scales shimmered under the firelight. Their spears raised high. Their voices mixed with the drumbeats, a song of blood and cruelty. Everyone expected the human to drop to his knees, to beg for mercy. But instead, he stepped forward. Just one step. Bold. Calm. The alien girl's heart raced. She had never seen anyone like him before. He was fragile compared to the others. No armor, no weapon, no claws. Yet his voice, when he spoke, shook more than the drums. "Release her," he said again, louder this time, firm as a command. The warriors laughed in his face. One leaned close, snarling, "Weak human, we eat creatures like you for breakfast." His breath stank of smoke and blood. The human didn't move. His hand slowly reached down, gripping a broken branch lying near the pit. Flames had blackened but it was still strong. He lifted it like a weapon, not shaking, not afraid. The crowd fell silent for a moment, confused. The girl's lips parted, whispering, "He's not running." The leader smirked, waving his hand. "Break him." First warrior lunged. The spear struck fast, but the human twisted aside, the point grazing his sleeve. With surprising strength, he slammed the burning branch into the warrior's side. Sparks flew as the scaled alien stumbled back, howling in pain. The crowd gasped. A human had struck one of their own. Two more came at him at once. He ducked low, rolling across the dirt, the heat of the fire brushing against his back. Rising quick, he smashed the branch into the legs of one warrior, making him fall into the dust. The other slashed across his arm, cutting skin. The human gritted his teeth, blood dripping down, but he didn't stop. The girl above the flames screamed, "No, please stop, they'll kill you." Her voice cut through the noise, and for a second he looked up at her. Their eyes met, hers wide with fear, his steady with fire. "Not while you're alive," he answered. Her heart stopped. No one had ever spoken for her before. Not her tribe, not her people. No one. And now, a stranger, an alien to her world, was ready to fight an entire village. The last warrior charged, massive and heavy, spear aimed at the human's chest. The crowd cheered, thinking it was over, but the human stepped aside at the last second, the spear missing its mark. With all his strength, he swung the burning branch into the warrior's head. The crack echoed, and the warrior crashed into the pit itself. Flames roared as the crowd screamed in shock. The human stood tall, chest heaving, blood on his arm, smoke stinging his eyes. Still, he raised the branch like a sword. "Is this your strength?" he shouted at them. "Chaining a child? Burning her alive? If this is power, then you are cowards." The crowd hissed, furious at his words, but none stepped forward. Even the horned leader narrowed his eyes. This human was not ordinary prey. The girl trembled, tears spilling down her face. His words echoed in her chest, breaking through the fear that had gripped her heart for so long. For the first time, she believed, maybe she could survive this night. The leader finally moved, stepping forward, towering over the human. His claws glinted, his eyes burning with hate. "You dare insult us in our home?" His voice shook the ground. "You think you are a warrior?" The human lifted the branch higher, though his hands were cut and bleeding. "I don't think," he said. "I know. And tonight, I fight for her." The leader's eyes narrowed. The crowd fell silent. Even the flames seemed to pause, waiting. "Above, the pit," the girl whispered, her voice barely heard. "Who are you?" The human glanced up at her, his face hard but his eyes soft. "Someone who refuses to let you die." Her chest ached, her tears hot on her cheeks. In that moment, even chained above the fire, she no longer felt completely alone. The leader roared with fury, raising his claws. "Then you both will die together." The drums pounded, the crowd screamed, the flames shot higher, reaching for the girl's legs. The human tightened his grip on the burning branch, his stance firm, ready to face death itself. And the girl realized her fate had already changed. The fire roared higher, sparks flying into the night sky. The heat wrapped the pit like a monster, hissing and snapping, waiting to swallow the girl whole. She dangled above the flames, her chains glowing red, her eyes locked on the human below. Her heart pounded fast, too fast. Every second felt like her last. The human stood ready, gripping the burning branch in his hand. Blood dripped from his arm, smoke stung his throat, but he did not step back. His defiance had already shaken the tribe. Now the horned leader himself was moving forward. The leader was huge. His shoulders were broad, his skin armored with black scales. His horns curved like blades. When he stepped, the ground shook. His claws caught the firelight, sharp and cruel. The crowd cheered louder, beating their drums, filling the air with thunder. The girl whimpered, her voice barely reaching the human. "You can't win, he'll kill you." But the human raised his eyes to her, steady, firm. "I'm not leaving you here." Those words lit a spark inside her chest. She bit her lip, holding back another cry. For the first time in her life, someone cared enough to fight for her. The leader lunged. His claw swept forward like a blade, aiming to rip the human apart. The human twisted aside, barely escaping, the sharp edge slicing through his shirt. He stumbled but kept his footing, swinging the branch with all his strength. It smashed against the leader's arm. Sparks flew, the wood cracked, but the leader only laughed. "You are nothing," he growled, his deep voice rumbling. "You are weak." The human's chest rose and fell, sweat dripping, blood burning in his veins. But his voice was strong. When he answered, "Weakness is letting a child burn. Weakness is hiding behind chains." The leader roared and attacked again. The clash was brutal. Claw against branch, scale against skin. The human dodged, struck, dodged again, moving like fire itself. Every strike from the leader could kill, but every time the human slipped away by inches. The crowd screamed louder, some in rage, some in shock. No one had ever lasted this long against their leader. No one. Above the pit, the girl struggled, pulling at the chains until her wrists bled. "Please, please don't die," she whispered. The flames licked closer, burning her legs. The heat was unbearable. Then it happened. The leader swung hard, claws slashing down. The human blocked with the branch, but the wood shattered into pieces. Splinters flew. His weapon was gone. The crowd howled with joy. "It's over," they shouted. "The human falls." The girl's scream ripped the air. "No!" The leader raised his claws high for the killing blow, but the human didn't run. He didn't beg. Instead, he stepped closer, shocking everyone. His bare hands reached out, and with sudden force he grabbed the leader's horn. The crowd gasped as he twisted his body, using the brute's weight against him. With a roar, the leader stumbled, crashing into the dirt, flames flashing against his black scales. The human staggered back, chest heaving, eyes blazing with fire. "I said," he growled, "let her go." The girl's breath caught in her throat. Her chains shook violently above the pit. She could see his pain, cuts, burns, blood, but he was still standing, still fighting. The leader rose, furious, his eyes burning brighter than the flames. He lunged again, but the human ducked low, snatching a fallen spear from the ground. The crowd froze. A human with their weapon? Impossible. The leader attacked. The human struck. The spear clashed against the claw, sparks exploding in the night. The battle became chaos. Every movement was life or death. The human's hands shook from the weight of the spear, but his strikes were fast, sharp, desperate. The leader pressed forward, stronger, heavier, but slower. The girl's voice broke through the noise. "Behind you!" she cried. The human spun just in time as another warrior tried to strike from behind. The spear slashed across the warrior's chest, dropping him to the dirt. The crowd howled in anger now, no longer laughing. The human raised the spear high, firelight glowing across his face. "Who else?" he shouted, his voice echoing. "Who else wants to fight me for her?" Silence. Only the flames spoke, crackling, hungry, rising higher around the girl's fragile body. Her chains strained, the metal hissing hot. She cried out in pain, smoke choking her lungs. The human's eyes widened. Time was running out. He charged, shoving the leader back with the spear. His boots scraped the dirt as he sprinted toward the pit. The girl screamed, "No, it's too late." But he didn't stop. The crowd screamed. The leader roared. The flames rose, and the human leapt. The human flew through the smoke as he leapt toward the pit. Heat struck his face like a wall. the fire reaching up to swallow him whole. For one terrifying second, the alien girl thought he would fall into the flames. Her heart stopped, her throat too dry to scream, but his hands found the chains. The metal burned his skin instantly, the heat searing deep. Still, he held on. He swung forward, hanging just inches below her, the fire crackling beneath them both. The crowd gasped, their laughter gone, replaced with stunned silence. The girl stared down at him, her tears mixing with the smoke. Why are you doing this?" Her voice was a broken whisper. Through gritted teeth, the human answered, "Because you don't deserve to die here." The chains groaned under his weight. His burned hands slipped, but he clenched harder, ignoring the pain. With his free hand, he pulled the broken spear he had carried into the pit. The blade glowed from the heat, but he raised it high and struck down at the chains that bound her wrists. The first strike sparked, the metal refusing to give. The crowd erupted, screaming, "Burn them! Burn them both!" The horned leader roared. Clawing his way to the edge of the pit, the human struck again. His muscles shook, sweat pouring, blood running down his arms. "Hold on!" he shouted. The girl squeezed her eyes shut, her small hands trembling. She whispered back, "I can't. I'm so weak." His voice broke through the smoke, fierce and steady. "You're stronger than you think." The spear smashed against the chain again. Crack. A spark flew. The metal thinned. The crowd shouted louder, some stamping their feet, others throwing stones. But still the human kept swinging, again and again, even as the flames reached higher, scorching his boots, licking at his legs. The girl felt something shift. The chain on her right wrist loosened. She gasped, her eyes wide. "It's breaking!" One final strike. The spear clanged against the chain, and with a loud snap, it broke apart. Her right hand was free. She almost fell into the flames, but the human caught her wrist, pulling her against him. The crowd screamed in rage. The leader bellowed, his voice shaking the ground. "Kill them now!" The girl clung to the human, her tiny body trembling, smoke choking her lungs. She looked at his face, burned, bloodied, eyes burning with fire, and something inside her shifted. She no longer felt like prey. She felt protected. The human braced himself, swinging the spear once more at the second chain. Sparks exploded. The chain groaned. The leader reached down, claws swiping to tear the human apart. The human jerked back, the claws missing him by inches. With a cry of pure defiance, he struck again. The second chain snapped. The girl fell into his arms, light as a feather. The crowd gasped, their shock like a wave of silence. For the first time, she wasn't bound. She wasn't a victim. She was free. The human held her tight against his chest, leaping toward the edge of the pit. The flames roared below, reaching for them, but he pulled with all his strength, landing hard on the dirt. He rolled, protecting her with his body until they tumbled into the dust outside the pit. The crowd erupted in chaos. Some screamed in fury, others in disbelief. The leader howled, his horns glowing in the firelight. "Seize them! Tear them! Apart!" The girl coughed violently, her lungs burning, but she clung tighter to the human. Her voice was hoarse, but she whispered close to his ear. You saved me." He looked down at her, brushing ash from her face with his bloodied hand. "I promised I wouldn't let you die." Her tears fell fast, not from fear this time, but from something she had never felt before. Hope. The warriors advanced, forming a circle around them. Spears glinted, teeth bared. The drums pounded once more, filling the night with thunder. The human stood, pulling the girl behind him, raising the broken spear in his hand. His chest rose and fell, every breath heavy with pain, but his eyes burned brighter than the fire itself. "Whoever touches her," he growled, "faces me first." The crowd hesitated. Even the warriors paused, glancing at each other nervously. This man had faced their leader. He had broken their chains. He had jumped into fire and come out alive. The horned leader snarled, stepping forward. His voice cut through the silence. "Enough. He is one man. We are many. Take them both." The warriors roared, preparing to charge. The girl gripped the human's arm, her voice desperate. "You can't fight them all. Please, run." But he didn't move. He kept his spear raised, his body shielding hers completely. His voice was low, steady. "If I fall standing. If I die protecting you." The girl's eyes widened. Her chest ached. She had been alone, broken, treated like nothing but food. And now, this human, this stranger, was ready to give everything for her. The drums grew louder. The warriors, crouched, ready to strike. The fire behind them blazed higher, lighting the night like a second sun. And the human whispered, just loud enough for her to hear, "Stay close. We're not done yet." The night exploded with noise. The warriors roared, their claws scraping the dirt, their yellow eyes glowing like fireflies in the dark. Drums pounded faster, echoing like thunder across the alien village. The horned leader bellowed, raising his claw. "Catch them! Tear them apart!" The human tightened his grip on the broken spear, pulling the girl behind him. Her small hands clung to his shirt, her body trembling, but her eyes stayed locked on him. He was her only shield against the storm. The first warrior lunged. The human spun, striking with the spear's jagged edge. The blow was sharp and fast, cutting across the alien's arm. The warrior screamed, falling back. The crowd howled in fury, but there were too many. 10, maybe 20. Their circle closed tighter. The human's chest heaved, his muscles ached, his wounds burned. Still, he stood tall, his stance unshaken. The girl's voice broke through the noise, soft but desperate. "You can't fight them all, and we must run." Her words struck his heart with truth. He looked around. His spear wouldn't last, his body was breaking. If they stayed, they would both die here. His eyes met hers. "Then hold on." Before the warriors could close in, he grabbed her hand and dashed through a gap in the circle. The crowd screamed as he shoved aside two guards, sprinting into the night. The girl stumbled, her legs weak from chains and fire, but he held her hand tight, almost dragging her forward. Behind them, the tribe's horns blared, calling the hunt. Shadows chased them, footsteps shaking the earth. They ran through the camp, past burning torches and crumbling huts. The villagers shouted, throwing stones, but the human never slowed. His breath was ragged, his body pushed beyond its limits, yet his grip never loosened on her hand. The forest loomed ahead, black and endless. They burst into the trees, branches, whipping at their faces, roots catching their feet. The girl gasped for breath, her chest aching. "They'll never stop chasing us. They'll hunt us forever." The human's jaw tightened. His voice was low but steady. "Then let them try." Behind them, the warriors crashed into the forest, their snarls cutting through the night. The horns blew again, closer this time. Torches flickered, chasing shadows across the trees. The girl stumbled, nearly falling, but the human caught her in his arms. He lifted her as if she weighed nothing, carrying her against his chest. Her heart pounded at the sound of his breath, heavy and strained, yet unbroken. Branches snapped under his boots as he ran deeper into the forest. The night was alive with danger. The hiss of insects, the cry of distant beasts, the pounding footsteps of their hunters. The girl buried her face against his chest, whispering, "Why do you fight for me? I'm nothing to you, nothing to anyone." His voice came rough between gasps. "You are not nothing, you are alive, and that's enough." Her tears wet his shirt. No one had ever spoken those words to her, not her people, not her tribe. No one. A torch flew past them, striking a tree. Flames spread fast, lighting the dark forest in orange glow. The warriors closed in, their shadows stretching across the fire-lit trees. The human stopped, turning sharply. He placed the girl down, gently, his hand brushing her hair. "Stay behind me." She shook her head, voice trembling. "No, they'll kill you." But he cut her off, his eyes burning like the fire itself. "If I fall standing." The first warrior crashed, through the trees, spear raised. The human lunged forward, driving his broken weapon into the alien's chest. The warrior collapsed, his torch rolling across the dirt. Another came. The human swung hard, sparks flying as spear clashed against claw. The girl watched, her hands shaking, her breath caught in her throat. But more warriors appeared, surrounding them again, The leader's voice echoed through the forest, cruel and booming. "Nowhere to run, human, nowhere to hide. Give her up and maybe we'll let you live." The human's chest rose and fell, his blood dripping into the dirt. He stepped in front of the girl again, refusing to move. His voice was sharp as steel. "You'll never have her." The warriors snarled, advancing. Then, boom! The ground trembled. The flames flickered. A strange sound filled the forest, like stone shifting under the earth. The girl's eyes widened. She recognized it. Her voice shook with fear. "No. Not here. Not now." The human frowned, glancing back at her. "What is it?" Her voice broke. "Something worse than them." The ground split open nearby, glowing with strange blue light. Out of the crack, huge insect-like creatures crawled, their bodies armored, their jaws snapping. The warriors froze, shocked by the sudden threat. The human gripped the girl's hand, pulling her close. The night had turned into chaos. Flames, hunters, and now beasts rising from the earth itself. Her trembling whisper filled the air. "We'll never survive this." He looked down at her, sweat and blood dripping, his voice quiet, but unshaken. "Yes, we will. Because I'm not letting go." The forest burned, the warriors closed in, and the creatures hissed from the shadows. Their escape had only just begun. The forest trembled as the insect-like beasts crawled from the earth. Their armored bodies glistened in the firelight, their mandibles clicking, sharp and wet. The alien warriors paused, their hunt broken by sudden fear. Even they knew better than to fight the creatures of the deep. The human held the girl tight, backing away. His breath was heavy, his body weak, but his grip was unshakable. "Stay close," he whispered. She nodded, her hands clutching his shirt, her heart racing too fast. The beasts shrieked, shaking the trees. Warriors shouted in panic, throwing their torches at the monsters, but the flames only enraged them. The insects charged, scattering the tribe in chaos. The human saw his chance. He pulled the girl into the shadows, slipping away through the smoke and screams. They ran until their legs could carry them no more. The drums faded, the horns vanished. Only the sound of insects and the crackle of distant fire remained. Finally, they stumbled into a clearing. Broken stone pillars rose from the ground, half buried in vines. Strange carvings glowed faintly along the surfaces, whispering with energy. The girl froze, her breath caught in her throat. The human set her down gently, his chest heaving. "We'll rest here," he said, though his voice was weak. His wounds burned, his arm bleeding badly. He tore a strip from his shirt, wrapping it around the cut. But the girl's eyes were fixed on the glowing carvings. She stepped closer, her trembling fingers reaching out to touch the stone. The instant her skin made contact, the carvings blazed with light. Blue fire rippled across the ruin, filling the clearing with a ghostly glow. The human stiffened. "What is this place?" The girl's lips parted, but no words came. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Finally, she whispered, "It's older than my people. Older than the tribes. It was built for me." He frowned, confused. "For you?" Tears welled in her eyes as she turned to him. "You don't understand. They weren't burning me because I was weak. They wanted to destroy me because I carry something they fear." The glow from the carvings reflected in her eyes, making them shine like stars. "My bloodline," she continued, "is tied to this power. These ruins answer to me. That's why they wanted me gone." The human listened in silence. The weight of her words sank deep. She wasn't just some victim of cruelty. She was something more, something dangerous, something powerful. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "I should have died tonight. If I stay alive, the tribes will never stop hunting me. And now, you're in danger too." The human walked closer, his steps slow but firm. His hand touched her shoulder gently, grounding her in the moment. "I don't care what blood runs in your veins. I don't care what they fear. All I see is a girl they tried to kill." His voice grew harder. And I won't let them. Her tears spilled, but for the first time, they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of something else, something she didn't even have a name for. The ruins pulsed again, brighter this time. The ground rumbled faintly beneath them. She gasped, pulling her hand back. It reacts to me. I can't control it. The human tightened his grip on the spear, scanning the dark trees. Then we'll learn together. But before either of them could speak further, a low growl echoed from the shadows. The girl clutched his arm, her body going stiff. Warriors hadn't followed them, but something else had. From between the trees, glowing eyes appeared. Hunters, smaller but faster than the leader's soldiers. The girl's voice shook. They sent trackers. They won't give up. The human stepped in front of her, his body forming a wall between her and the danger. He was exhausted, his wounds screaming, but he stood tall, refusing to bend. Then we hold here. The trackers crept closer, their claws glinting. The ruins hummed louder, sensing her fear, her blood. The carvings shone brighter, casting waves of blue light. The girl looked up at the human, panic in her eyes. If they kill me here, this power will be lost forever. His jaw tightened, his gaze never leaving the hunters. Then I'll make sure they don't. The trackers lunged. The ruins flared with blinding light. The girl screamed, clutching her chest as energy poured out of her like fire. The hunters froze mid-strike, their bodies flung backward as if a storm had exploded from her. The human shielded, her with his arms, holding her as her body shook violently, glowing brighter and brighter. When the light finally dimmed, the trackers lay scattered, twitching on the dirt. She collapsed against him, trembling, tears streaming down her cheeks. See? This is why they hate me. This is why they want me dead. He held her tight, his voice low, steady. Then they'll have to go through me first. Her breath caught, her eyes wide. For the first time, she believed his words. She wasn't alone anymore, but deep in the shadows, a new sound rose. The horned leader's roar echoing across the night. He had survived, and he was coming. The human tightened his grip on her hand. The ruins glowed faintly, as if waiting. He whispered, "It's not over." The ruins glowed faintly in the night, their strange carvings still humming with energy. Smoke drifted between the trees, carrying the stench of battle and fire. The alien girl leaned against the human's chest, weak from the surge of power she had unleashed. Her breaths came quick, her small body trembling. Then came the roar, deep, violent, endless. The human's eyes lifted to the tree line. The horned leader was there, towering above the shadows. His scales were scorched, his horns blackened by smoke, but his fury burned brighter than ever. Behind him, warriors gathered again, their eyes filled with rage. They had lost their prey, once but not this time. The girl clutched the human's hand, her voice breaking. He won't stop. Not until I'm dead. The human's grip tightened. His voice was low, steady as stone. Then he'll have to go through me, the leader. Stomped into the clearing, claws scraping against the broken stone. His voice thundered, "You shame us, human. You spit on our strength. Tonight I tear you apart. Tonight the girl burns." The warriors roared behind him, pounding their spears against the dirt. The ground shook with their fury. The human stood taller, pulling the girl behind him, his broken spear still in hand. His body ached, every wound screaming, but his spirit burned like fire. He took one slow step forward, his eyes locked on the leader. "No," he said. "Tonight she lives." The ruins pulsed, responding to his words. A blue glow spread across the carvings, brighter, stronger, as if the ancient stones themselves approved of his defiance. The leader lunged first, claws sweeping like lightning. The human barely dodged, rolling across the stone floor, pulling the girl with him. He rose quick, spear clashing against claw. Sparks flew, echoing through the ruins. The warriors shouted, rushing forward, but the ruins blazed suddenly, a wall of blue light erupting around the clearing. The girl gasped. "It's protecting us!" The human gripped the spear tighter. "Then we make this our stand. the leader roared, striking again and again, each blow heavy enough to crush bone. The human staggered, blocking, dodging, striking, back when he could. His strength was fading, but his determination only grew. Every time he faltered, he saw her face, her wide eyes filled with fear and hope, and he pushed harder. The girl cried out, her hands glowing faintly. "The ruins! They answer me! I can help you!" He glanced at her, shaking his head. "Not yet. Save your strength." The leader's claw slashed across his chest, blood spraying. The girl screamed, but the human only clenched his jaw, refusing to fall. He thrust the spear forward, striking the leader's side. The beast howled, stumbling back for the first time. The warriors behind the barrier hissed in shock. Never had anyone wounded their leader. The human staggered, his knees shaking. He could barely hold the spear anymore. The girl rushed to his side, holding him up with her small arms. "Please, stop. You'll die." His voice was weak, but his eyes still burned. "If I die, then I die standing, protecting you." Her tears fell fast, her chest aching. She couldn't let him fall. She wouldn't. She pressed her hands to the glowing stone. Energy surged through her body, flowing into the ruins. The carvings shone like fire, flooding the clearing with light. The leader froze, eyes wide. "No, it cannot be." The girl rose, her small frame trembling, her hand gripping the human's tightly. "You called me weak," she said, her voice shaking, but strong. "But he showed me I am more than chains." The ruins responded. Blue fire erupted across the carvings, forming a wave of light that slammed into the leader. He roared, his horns cracking, his body thrown backward into the dirt. The ground shook, dust rising into the air. The human fell to one knee, exhausted, but still holding the spear. He looked at the girl, her body glowing faintly, her eyes burning with newfound strength. Together they stood. The leader rose again, staggering, his body burned, his rage undying. But when he saw them, hand in hand, light surrounding them, he hesitated. The warriors outside the barrier fell silent, fear replacing fury. The girl lifted her chin, her voice echoing through the ruins. "We are not your prey. We are not your feast. We will never bow to you again." The ruins pulsed one last time, sending a shockwave through the clearing. The leader screamed, thrown back into the forest. His roar faded into the night, swallowed by shadows. The barrier dimmed, silence fell. The warriors outside scattered, their courage broken. One by one they fled into the dark. The girl collapsed to her knees, tears running down her cheeks. She looked up at the human, her voice soft, trembling. "You didn't let me burn. You didn't let me die." He knelt beside her, brushing ash from her face. His voice was rough but gentle. "I told you, you're not nothing. You're alive. And you're free." Her small hands clutched his tightly. She buried her face against his chest, whispering, "You're my hero. Forever." The ruins glowed softly around them, no longer threatening, but welcoming. The night was quiet now, the danger gone. For the moment, the human lifted her in, his arms carrying her gently. His voice was low, steady. "This isn't the end, but whatever comes next, we face it together." The girl closed her eyes, safe in his arms, her lips forming one final whisper. Together. And so, under the light of the ruins, a bond was sealed, not of chains, but of choice.